Today on the DML News podcast, people around the world have questions, a lot of questions about what's going to happen in this election. And they have chosen me to give the answers. I'm honored by it, and I'm ready to give those answers, and they're all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. Across from me is my son, Denny. Across the way is my son, Ryan, on the controls. We are a family, always going to give it to you straight, always going to give it to you honest. And boy, oh boy, are we sitting on the biggest day of our lives, biggest day of our country's life. And so we invited people on Facebook, on the TeamDML app, on X, whatever, to send questions in. We always get so many questions. We try to limit it down to 20. We have it at 25, and we're going to give it to you here. But before we start, let me just say to you, dmlcbd.com/BOGO, buy one, get one free. I've been running this sort of thing now for years. I got into CBD because Trump signed the Farm Bill. Without Trump, there is no CBD, there is no DML CBD. We would not have changed tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of lives for the better. If Kamala Harris comes away with a victory, I don't know when there will ever be another BOGO again, because the prices for everything are going to go tenfold. And I just can't be in the business of giving things away. If Trump wins, it's going to take a little time for Trump to get this economy going back, because right now our expenses are double, triple what they used to be. So please, if you're an existing customer and you haven't gone in yet, or you've only gone in and just bought one, go in and buy what you need. dmlcbd.com/BOGO. There are two items on there, I believe, gummies and maybe Premier tinctures that are out of stock. The good news is I have more coming in 3 weeks. And so we will run another BOGO for those two items in 3 weeks. So if you're one of the gummy customers and you're like, where are my gummies? We will run another BOGO in 3 weeks for the gummies. They will run out in 2-3 days flat. I just know that's how it goes. But that is it. I don't know when I'm going to be able to do BOGOs for anything again. This election weighs heavy on all of us. If you are not a customer of DML CBD and you're buying it from somewhere else, I challenge you, go get your product tested and be sure that what's on that label is what you're putting in your body. You know, the majority of people that are out there do not do the sort of testing that we do. And what's on the label is not inside. You've got to be careful what you're putting into your body. You have to trust the people that you're getting it from. So please, think about coming over to DML CBD. We are the best there is. Our testimonials prove that to be true, as far as I'm concerned. And if you've never tried CBD, DML CBD, if you are somebody who's suffering from aches and pains, lack of sleep, anxiety, low immune system, skin issues, you don't have to go through that sort of thing. Go to dmlcbd.com, check out all the products we have, then go to the deals page, the BOGO page, dmlcbd.com/BOGO, buy one, get one free. Get in there and take advantage of the generosity. You start going, it could literally change your life like it has mine and so many other people. dmlcbd.com/BOGO. Denny, who's our first question from?
Barb Anderson. And Barb asks, are we going to be safe after tomorrow?
Safe after tomorrow. I'm assuming she's asking if the United States of America is going to be safe. Or she could be asking, are conservatives going to be safe? So I'm going to answer it from both perspectives. If Donald J. Trump wins the election tomorrow, today, next week, whenever it is we get the results, we're going to be safe as a country. I fear what could happen in the 76 days or 70 days or whatever, how many days it is from the time that we actually know who's the winner to the day that the inauguration takes place. Those 70 days are going to be more nerve-wracking than they would be 70 days before the election. And the reason being is because if Trump wins, our adversaries may see a short window to light up the United States of America, whatever that looks like. So I'll pray that we'll be safe, but my gut tells me we won't be. If Trump wins the election, as conservatives, I think you need to watch your back, at least for a short period of time, especially if you're in inner cities. If you're in a place where they're going to start burning things down, that's when you take your Trump sign in. It doesn't mean that you're not patriotic. It doesn't mean that you're turning your cheek on Donald J. Trump. It means that you're trying to protect yourself from lunatics who are allowed to run free and do whatever they want while this radical administration's in place. If Kamala wins, then yeah, I fear for all of our lives, both in the short and long term. If Kamala wins and she gets the Congress, I don't think Republicans will ever win another election. And the only way that you'll ever enjoy the rest of your life with freedoms that you deserve is if you move to a state like Florida where they give that sort of thing to you. Because I think if she wins, we may start to revert back to the old days of where states really try to go tell the federal government to go screw yourself. So on a worldwide basis, we're very vulnerable if she wins. As conservatives, we're not safe at all. We will be targeted. The louder your voice, the bigger your profile, the more noise you make, the more dangerous it will become for you. It is that simple.
Bonnie Cabellis, will we get the results Tuesday night?
Absolutely not, unless, and I said this in yesterday's show, the only way that we get a Trump victory or a Harris victory tomorrow is if one of them runs away like a freight train with almost every state, like Reagan did when he won 49 out of 50, with the exception of Minnesota, in his reelection bid back in 1984. So if Trump starts running away with this thing to where states like New Jersey announced that he's the winner, where it was expected to be blue, but it came on over. States like Illinois go to Trump, and he has 270 plus, and states like Pennsylvania and Michigan are useless, and they're late to the game. Who gives a rat's ass? So yeah, then we have the results. But if this is what the polls indicate, a neck-and-neck race, no, you won't know. You won't know for quite some time. And the unrest in this country will be something that the worst Steven Spielberg movie has never painted. It will be something that we've never seen in our lifetime.
Helen Thomas, what's the first thing we should do if Kamala Harris is elected?
I hate speaking on these terms because I want to stay positive. I want to say that Trump's going to win. So I'm only going to go high level on this. I'll save the answer to this if indeed it happens. On a high level, I think you have to look at your finances and figure out how you're going to stretch the most out of every dollar. I think that includes cutting out things in your life that are not necessities. I think that you also have to take a look at where you live and maybe decide that it's time to make a change. There will be a few states like Florida that will be a refuge for conservatives. And I take that very seriously. I would say put a for sale sign on the house or for rent sign if you've got enough money and come down to Florida. As far as national security goes, I don't know if there's anything you can do, to be quite honest. You know, pray. But to get more into the nitty-gritty on that is sort of premature because I want to manifest in my mind a Trump victory.
Jane Stevens, are you going to have the election results streaming on TeamDML?
Yes. So let me go over this for people who are listening to this. because there's a lot of uncertainty which happens in the next week. But we're going to try to keep you as certain as possible. Between Anita, Denny, Ryan, myself, we're going to try to keep the app up to date with information as often as possible. If you don't have the app, you could download it from the DML. You go for the DML News app. You search DML News app from the Google Play Store for Androids or the Apple App Store for Apple phones and iPads. We will, on TeamDML, be live on election night, and we will call every state as they're being called. And then Wednesday, if we don't have a victory, either from Kamala or Trump, we will be broadcasting as much as we possibly can. And I think it is a very important time. If you are not already a member of TeamDML, this is your last day. Once the election night is over, I can't do it anymore. It costs us so much money to operate. If you want to become a member for a year, and this may be the most important year that you do become a member, you want to go to teamdml.com. $30. That's all it costs in our special. After that, it's $200. And I almost feel as if it's almost unfair to the people who paid $200, but these are people who have been with us for so long, they realize the fact that every dollar we put back into the business. I do not get paid from doing this podcast. I do it as a love. My boys have to get paid because they need it, but I don't get paid from this. So if you want to become a member of TeamDML, go to teamdml.com or use the app, tab 5 Interact, and become a member. You could be a member for a year for $30. It gives you a lot of benefits. Maybe the biggest one is a live chat and communications with us pretty much 365. Now's the time to do it. So,
Maria Kolkis Grubbs, how are the numbers looking for the House and the Senate?
Look, I hate to give an answer like this because I know people want more than a prediction. They want somebody who's got the inside info. 2020, 2022, 2024, in my opinion, comes down to who is doing the better job at cheating. And the Republicans don't cheat. So I would tell you that just simply alone on that premise, if you believe the Republicans are honest and that the Democrats are crooks, the numbers look bad. There's no other way of doing it. The numbers look bad. Because no matter what the number is, the other team is preparing to make sure that they've got one more than we do. This is why I hate the early voting. It gives the Democrats enough time to figure out what they've got to pull out of the hat. So what do the numbers look like? I could tell you what I see. We don't have the Senate, and we are holding on to Congress by a thread. We need to have a red wave. It's got to be, as Trump likes to say, too big to rig. Perfect world, and maybe that's where we're headed because we've been so imperfect for so long. Maybe the pendulum is swinging back. My goodness. You have no idea how great America will be if we win the presidency and take a large amount of the Senate and take a large amount of the House. We know what that's like because that's what we have in Florida. We have a supermajority, and everything that DeSantis wants to get placed into law from a conservative standpoint happens. It's the best place on earth. America could be the same way if we run the table. So get out and vote today if you haven't done it already.
Lenny John, you need to rally the troops. Things went downhill this weekend. Even Trump looks worried. Let's stop with the complaining and get people out to vote. Agreed?
Yes, Lenny. I read Lenny's message there in two parts. Number one, he's being critical, and he's looking at things from a half empty. And the other part is he's trying to tell people, come on, look at it from half full. So Trump doesn't look worried. Trump looks tired because he's been running his ass. Triple that of a woman who is 20 years his junior, or what, 15 years his junior. Trump's got all the confidence in the world. But like you and like me, we fear what the Democrats are going to do. We've already seen it. We've seen it in the last 2 weeks, what they're willing to do. So I agree, Lenny. We got to champion people and tell them that America is worth fighting for and that you need to go out and vote. But that's the only bullet we've got, is a vote. So yeah, if you haven't voted and you're listening to this, boy, somebody must be forcing you into a chair and taping you down. Go out and vote Trump. Because America is beautiful and it's worth fighting for and it's worth voting for. But it can easily turn on a dime and become a very, very ugly place, as we've seen in the last 4 years.
So, Sandy Brewer Allison. I voted early for the first time this year because there was a push to do so. However, I don't fully understand why. How does early voting benefit? It seems it would be easier for the Democrats to cheat. Could you please explain the reasoning?
I think there's only one legitimate reason that anybody could muster. And that is if there is a natural disaster or if the lights go out and you can't post a vote on election day, there is no tomorrow. So they want you to get out and vote and do it early so this way your vote does indeed count. We didn't do that. We didn't do it because we're so damn busy with the election. And I've always been one that said I want to be a traditionalist and I want to stick with election day because I believe that the only way to have a fair election is to have it on one day. And if you don't get to cast a vote on that day, well, then shame on you. I agree with what her sentiment is, the same thing I am. Right now, the Democrats see that the Republicans have an advantage through this early voting. People have been coming out in numbers like crazy. And I don't like it because, like I just said a few minutes ago, that gives them what the scorecard is. And if they're down by, 2 million votes, they know they got to come up with 2.1 million. And I just hate it. I hate the early voting. It has fraud written all over it. But that's where we are. And so if that's the game, if your opponent comes to a street fight with a knife, come with a gun. And so the idea is if they're going to do early voting, we're going to do early voting. I can't say I agree with it, but it's sort of like rain on your wedding day. If that's the way God wants it, that's the way he's going to have it. And for some reason, God has it right now where we've got early voting. I won't understand it, and I'm not looking to get to heaven anytime soon to ask him. But one day when I do get there, I'm going to ask him, why did you put Barack Obama in place? Did you put Barack Obama in place so this way we recognize how precious America is and what it is that we need to defend and work hard to protect? I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand the ebb and flow of life many times. All I can tell you is that these are the rules. We got to play by them. And if our opponent is doing X, we'd have to do X times 2. And I hope that's what happened in this election. We won't know until the victory dance from either the communist or the freedom fighter.
Carlo Tiberio Jackson. Have you changed your election map from October 27th?
No. If anybody wants to see my election map, I'll tell you what you could do. You could go to facebook.com/DML news app. It's at the top. Or you could, my preference is you go to x.com/trustdml. And it's pinned. The video of our election map is pinned at the top. You could watch it. I have Trump winning handedly in this election.
Cindy Trainer. How quickly do we get plunged into full-on communism if Kamala somehow wins, which is likely after everything Democrats have done?
Well, I'm not going to say it's likely because I'm not going to bend to that. I'm going to stick positive and I'm going to stick on the Trump victory train until it is stolen from us. If it's stolen from us. If it's stolen from us, I think that this country is going to decline at a rate that is like free fall. I don't know if you remember this. You may be too young, but there's a Six Flags in New Jersey. We used to take you all the time, and there is it's a ride called Free Fall, and you go on it, and you're laying on your back. You first start, and then it brings you up, and now you're facing straight up, and you're there. There's everybody sitting there looking straight out, and you're high, and nobody gives you any advance warning, and then suddenly it just drops. And the feeling in your stomach is like nothing ever. You're sick to your stomach. And although you know you're on the ride and you're going to come out of it unscathed, this is one time when the free fall ends in a crash. So I think that if she wins, the acceleration downward is going to be like that of free fall. And I'm not trying to scare anybody.
Maureen Harvey. The Democrats seem more excited and more confident than the Republicans on Fox. Marie Harf and Harold Ford feel confident and are looking happier than the Trump base. So who do you think will be the most likely winner with your gut feeling, DML?
I want to extend the answer I gave from before. I think one of the reasons why the free fall will feel as bad as it will is because people will lose hope. They'll lose faith in the country. Mojo. America has always had it. It will die. And you will wake up every day fearing the worst. And fear is no way to live your life. That's why I think it feels like that. Going back to the question, I think watching Fox News may be the worst thing you can do, because Fox News, much like Newsmax, is run by fake conservatives who are just trying to monetize the fact that there's nobody pitching to the right. You want real conservatism? You listen to this show. You listen to other shows like it, although I don't think there's any other show like ours. But there's plenty of people out there who are true conservatives and trying to push conservatism every day. So Harold Ford is a frickin' Democrat who's been given a seat at the table at Fox News. No surprise there. Let's never forget that the Murdochs who own Fox News, one of the Murdoch sons is a $1 million donor to the Clinton Foundation. Let's not forget that. I think the Democrats are great at trying to sell stories that don't exist. So what they're going to do is they're going to grin and fake it. They're going to try to sell you on the fact that the polls are real. So this way, when the steal is implemented, they could go back and say, hey, Trump knew this. He knew it was 49-49, and yet he kept on saying stuff like he did about Liz Cheney, kept it up about Kamala not being really a black person, was always inflammatory. People don't want that. That's the story they're going to sell. And they use the backdrop of polls and the positive attitude on, from Democrats on Fox News as to the legitimacy of the steal. Stop watching Fox News. That's first of all. And second of all is start going out and doing what they're doing. We got to go out and be positive. We're going to win this thing. We're going to win this thing. We're going to win this thing. And so ultimately, that's why I won't answer some of these questions. I'm not going to let my brain get into the mode of what Democrats want to sell me on as, I shouldn't vote tomorrow. We'll win Florida anyway. I'm not doing it. No, you've got to go out and vote. Vote tomorrow like you're saving your kid in a drowning pool. If your kid was in a pool and he or she was drowning, you jump in and save them, right? You wouldn't say, oh, is the water too cold? Oh, is there a shark in there? Oh, my God, am I going to get electrocuted? No, you don't think twice. You jump in, you get your kid, and you bring them to safety. You ask questions later. And that's what we should be doing now.
Brenda Crane Schuler. What is our recourse if Democrats cheat again or deny Trump if he wins?
This is my opinion. And people aren't going to agree with this, and maybe they'll feel a little less good about things. But what's the recourse? We have no recourse. We allowed this to happen. We're still using Facebook. We're still watching Netflix. We're still going to movie theaters. We're still buying products from people who are far left. Still online to Starbucks. Starbucks is completely anti-Trump. We have not paid any attention to what these people have been doing to us. We are chasing the ambulance. We should have got in front of it. So right now, what we're doing is we're hoping. We're hoping that the devil is nice for a day. So what's our recourse? Move to Florida. And then make sure that we don't let Florida become the United States of America.
Leanne Griffin, do you think we as Americans will ever live in unity again, or are we all just going to be the divided states of America from here on out?
You know what? I want to hear your answer first, and then I'm going to follow by Ryan. What's your answer? Because it's more important what you think about this than me, because I've got, at best, 4 more decades. You should have another 7.
The optimist in me wants to say that, yes, we will be unified again. But I think the realist in me says that if that is the case, it's not going to be for a long time. There have to be some major changes besides just a presidential election to happen in this country to gain a sense of unity again.
I think the only way we can get unity going forward is if it's something like a 9/11 or Pearl Harbor to happen. I don't think we're going to be able to do it on ourselves.
I'm going to say that unity, or the lack thereof, that we experience today is going to get worse before it gets better. The only way that this country can unify is if Trump wins, clears out the illegal aliens in this country, cuts off immigration into this country for a long period of time, secures the border, goes back to the rule of law, and uses this little thing called tough love. And once we fix this damn thing and get it back to the way it's supposed to be and supposed to look, and start making it so this way American citizens can live the American dream, and that I mean for both conservatives and liberals, because liberals don't know what the American dream is. They've lost it. They've lost a view of what it is. They have got to be placed back in a spot where they can see it again. And conservatives know what the American dream is, and we know with Democrats, we ain't ever going to get there. So we've got to break the eggs to make the omelet. And so if Trump wins, he's going to break the eggs. He's going to start cooking the omelet. But he is not a unifying person. Somebody like J.D. Vance, who would be next in line, so to say, is a more calming personality who understands, as far as I'm concerned, how to sell conservatism better than Trump does. Maybe not the guy you want to break the eggs to start the omelet, but I think he's the guy who could put the omelet on the plate. So to that degree, it's going to get worse before it gets better. I would hope that Ryan, although I believe he's sort of right, I hope he's wrong, because I think the next 9/11 doesn't look like 9/11. It's much bigger. It's much worse. It's much more city sort of ending versus 2 buildings coming down. So I hope we don't get to that point. Because if we did get to that point, it would be a lot of finger pointing. It'd be, this is what Harris did. This is what Trump did. So we've got to be in a place where that's not what's trying to bring us together. I almost think that where we are at this point, that brings us further apart. Because if that does happen on U.S. soil, I ain't blaming my adversary. I'm blaming Harris and Biden.
Coleman Deeger, when are you running for president of the United States?
Oh, my goodness gracious. I'm going to answer this without an answer. And I've thought about this a lot. If Trump wins and the economy and the border improve themselves greatly and world issues settle down, I think, to what I just said before, the American people will find a great amount of trust in somebody like J.D. Vance, who will be the natural torchbearer. If that's the case, the opportunity for me or someone like me to run for that office is, as far as I'm concerned, 12 years away. I can't look 12 years out. If Trump doesn't come out victorious and Kamala Harris does, I think you will see the largest, and I mean largest, lineup of people who are going to declare their candidacy. And you will get everything. You will get House members who will run on, I understand how this place is operated. You will get senators who think that they would be the best choice because they're a senator. You'll get governors like Ron DeSantis who will say, I ran a successful red state, I can win this thing. And then you're going to get a ton of business people who say, I'm the next Trump. I could see it where you would have, no joke, 30 to 40 reputable names from DC, the business sector, and maybe even from the sports and entertainment world, all saying, I am now the next last hope we have. I think you'll see a lot of people who are influencers who have large followings or multi-billionaire people who don't need to have a party behind them put their money up in a huge way. I think it would be the biggest pool of all-stars we've ever seen. So would I be part of that pool? It depends on who I saw would be up there. If I saw somebody who I said, that guy can do it, he can actually win, then I'd support them. I'll give you an example. Eric Trump has what it takes to be a viable candidate. I would never support him because he'd be another Trump. And I'd say, if Donald Trump couldn't win after being shot at and all the things he went through, you're not your father, you can't win. But I mean, he is another prime example of somebody who would be sensational. His wife understands the in and outs, his family understands the in and outs, but he would be unelectable. If Trump wins and he does great, Eric Trump will wind up being a future president of the United States. There's no doubt in my mind.
Kim Donnelly, how would we continue to communicate if the Democrats cheat and control the media?
Oh, I think I've answered this in a previous one, and Kim Donnelly is a great TeamDML member. People are going to be afraid. They're going to be afraid of saying things. They're going to be afraid of doing things. And that's the Democrat blueprint. Put fear into everybody. January 6th is a prime example. Don't you dare come back to the Capitol. This is where you're going to go. You're going to go to a prison cell, right? Elon Musk, if Trump loses this, Elon Musk and what's his face? Tucker Carlson are going to be the number 2 and 3 guys that they're going after they get Donald Trump. Because they're going to want to take everything away, the platforms away and everything else. So my answer to you is, I don't know where to go other than, TeamDML. And, we have a nice little family here, and we'll give the news and we'll give our opinions and hope that, we'll still be able to communicate the way we were. I don't know. I've never entered an era like we're entering now, ever. I thought Obama was bad, but the world has now aligned around the likes of Kamala Harris because half of the people want her so they can take advantage of America. The other half want her because they know that she's the conduit to Barack Obama and the end of America as we know it and a one world order system. I have never been in this environment before. I'm treading in waters that's filled with sharks that I've never been in before.
Michelle Trapanese Shore Scandola.
Oh, how does she write that on the license? Go ahead.
How much money are we giving around the world? And if we stop giving, how long would it take to pay off our national debts?
Interestingly enough, the percentage of our GDP or the amount of our budget is relatively small when you look at how, on a percentage basis of what we give in foreign aid. It's a couple of percentiles. It's a lot of money. If we were to stop giving money to other countries, at least in the abundance to which we do give it, and we were to take that money and put it into our own infrastructure and into our own education and into our own benefits of medical systems and everything else, military, we'd be so far better than we are today. But for some reason, Washington, D.C. has gone in this crazy direction to where we're taking care of other people before we take care of our own. I'll give you a prime example of this. I just posted this over the weekend because I looked into it because somebody was saying to me, why and how can it be that the American voters are not looking at North Carolina and how it is that the Biden-Harris administration abandoned these people? And I said, you know, they didn't totally abandon them. Let me see what they've given. And I was blown away by what I found. Biden and Harris have given 77,000 households in the North Carolina Hurricane Helene victimhood, if you want to call it, over $100 million. We have given, same year, to the people of Lebanon, $154 million. How do we give $154 million to humanitarian needs in Lebanon, a place that actually harbors terrorists, Hezbollah? How do we give that 150, a corrupt country? We know the money's going to go to Hezbollah. How do we give them $154 million and only give the American taxpayers who pay into that $100 million? How do you square that circle? It makes no sense. So my hope is that Trump comes in, cuts the hell out of foreign aid. We have to give some aid to some places. There's just no doubt. We need it for strategic purposes. We also need it to try to eradicate diseases from getting out of those countries. How do we do that and still take care of America? Let's shave it down by 90% and take that 90% and put it back into the American system. That's the answer. Next question.
Another Michelle Michalik Wyman. Do you think it's possible after Trump wins that we can keep the presidency Republican for a few more terms so that we can fix the damage the Democrats have done? Or is the damage done and we have to work with what we have in place, such as actually deporting all illegals or following through with draining the swamp?
There's only one way to make America go in a conservative direction for a very long period of time. And it's not an easy thing to do. I'll give you an example. We had arguably, before Trump, the best conservative president in over 100 years, and that was Ronald Reagan. His accomplishments were insanely great, with the exception of he gave amnesty, and his amnesty turned California into a blue hellhole. And he left the borders wide open, right? But he still was fantastic on the world stage and for the economy. George Bush, a weak, feeble leader, somebody who couldn't communicate, mark my word, I will not raise taxes, only to go and raise taxes. Reagan poorly chose who it is that his running mate was going to be. And so instead of having, let's say, 16 years of conservatism, we wound up having 12 and then gave it over to Bill Clinton, who kept it for 8, got us into a shithole, and then we had to get it back by putting another Bush in, who was unelectable, and we gave it over to Obama. And if you think about it, Obama won because he ran against 2 rhinos, McCain and Romney. We get Trump, they steal, we go back. It's just this revolving door of back and forth. And the reason being is because we put weak Republicans in there. So if you've got Trump for the next 4 years, and so far from what I've seen from J.D. Vance, unless he's the greatest bullshit artist of all time, and I don't think that's the case, J.D. Vance is going to be a staunch, likable conservative. So we very well may be able to convince the American people that 12 years with strong leadership where A, we get the economy back to a spot where we're printing more millionaires and more opportunity zones than ever before, where the world is now looking to America as being the leader once again and showing us respect, and world dominance in terms of American exceptionalism is in fact a thing. We could steer our country for decades of rewards. J.D. Vance, and I'm pointing because he's on television right now, J.D. Vance would have to pick a strong, maybe even better than him, running mate. And along the way of not only strong leadership, we have got to deport all these freaking people, because otherwise they become a drain on the system. They suck from the teat of America, and they are ultimately going to vote Democrat. We must get rid of them all, mass deportation stations, and we need to limit our immigration down to virtually almost nothing. If we're not importing people who can solve cancer or be, something in terms of scientific research that we can't do it here alone, we don't need you. Get out. And therefore, you redirect this country back into a conservative mindset. You're not letting migrants from the third world make the determination of which way this country is headed. That's the way we get conservative leadership for decades to come and get this country back to being the frickin' mega place it should be.
Next question is from Danny Saunders. How will Trump get the economy going again and deal with the new Russian economic coalition, which I believe he's referring to BRICS?
The way that Trump gets this country going again, first and foremost, is turn back on the production of energy. Go back to creating us to where we are energy independent and the world is buying our energy. That's number one. Number two, stop importing so much shit from China. I am tired of turning things over and seeing it made in China. Start manufacturing back in the United States again. Get rid of and deport the illegal aliens who undercut American citizens, who drain on our taxes, who drain on our systems, who take so many cents from every dollar that the American worker makes. Get rid of them. You do those 3 things, instantaneously, our economy skyrockets. Start investing back into America and we will be great again. That's the way you do it. And that's how you start chopping down on the debt.
Jackie Stanley. If Kamala wins, will Texas pull out of the union? They've applied to BRICS.
I go back to the same thing. I don't want to talk about if Kamala wins. So all I'm going to say is this. If it turns out to be that this election is stolen, you need to move to states to where you know there is a Republican stronghold not where there's a Republican governor and, you know, an entire Senate and state Congress that's on the left. You're going to get nowhere. You've got to move to the states that are truly conservative. Most of those states are going to be in middle America, which not everybody likes because it's a lot of farm country, or down south. And hopefully there will be a big move to where states empower themselves and states empower their people to where we are not subject to the federal government and what the nonsense is that they want to carry out. That's my only answer. I don't know if Texas or Florida or any of these other different places are going to do a certain thing. All I know is this. If we took the southern part of the United States from Texas going across to South Carolina, and we were to secede, we would be the 8th biggest economy in the world. Just keep that in mind.
Nora Goodman Wiley. Over the last 4 years, what more could we have done to stop all the cheating by the Democrats?
Stop turning a blind eye to what it is that they were doing. I go back to what I said before. When you log on to Netflix and you give them money, you're supporting them to push a liberal ideology. When you're buying from Amazon, you're supporting a liberal ideology. When you're using a Gmail account, when you're using your iPhone, you are supporting a liberal ideology. Now, it's almost impossible to cut out all of those things out of your life. But if you were to limit it, that's number one. We never push back. We bitch and moan. We go on Facebook to complain about Facebook. Facebook makes money on posts. So you can write, Facebook is the greatest place in the world, or Facebook sucks, I hope they implode. They're still going to make the same amount of money. You follow? All we did was crybaby. We did nothing. We should have put real people at the RNC and the GOP long before Lara Trump wound up taking over. And maybe we would have done a smarter play of fighting fire with fire. You know, Trump made some pretty big mistakes. One being empowering Anthony Fauci, right? You don't empower Anthony Fauci, we never go through the COVID crap we did. So we've got to start operating smarter. I mean, you know, people love Trump, and I get it because he fight. But Trump, what Trump says isn't God. I'll give you an example. He is supporting Amendment 3 in Florida right now. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what they told him. I imagine somebody said to him, here's the great things about Amendment 3. And he says, all right, do we support it? And some, pot-smoking idiot in his campaign said, yes, this is what we want, sir. I mean, to legalize marijuana in Florida is only going to result in more stoned people, in more crime, in more car accidents, in more deaths. We've seen this in other states that have legalized it. Look at Oregon and Washington. It's a hot mess. Now they're trying to undo what they did. Trump is on television saying, yes to Amendment 3. They're doing it the right way. That's what he said to some guy who interviewed him. You know, if I interviewed him, you know what I'd say? Really, Mr. President? What are they doing that's the right way? And you would have caught him. You would have caught him not knowing a damn thing. Now, do I hold him upside down for that? He's a busy guy. He's trying to run a campaign. He's trying to do everything. Somebody told him this is what it is. And he said, okay, and he believed it at face value. What he should have said is, I don't know enough about Amendment 3. I can't comment on that right now. But what did he do? He's trying to make everybody happy. And when you try to make everybody happy, all that happens is that most people turn out to be miserable. We need to stand up against things that are not conservative from every single last standpoint. He's trying to win an election right now, and he's somewhat soft on the abortion issue, right? Well, I hope when he gets in there, he's going to be tougher on that whole thing. We need to stop trying to bend over to get people to come over to our party, put more money in people's pockets, and ultimately, that's going to win us. That's my take.
Constance Bowie. Why didn't Trump stop the crazy vaccine mandates and law changes under his term?
Thank you. It's a perfect question to come after that. I don't know why. He's not a perfect man. Go back to what I just said about Ronald Reagan. Greatest president in my lifetime up to Trump. And he gave amnesty. It's the number one thing I've been fighting against out of all the policy issues that there are. And I still would say he's a great president. Presidents are going to make mistakes. This is why it is that pencils have erasers. We all make mistakes. If we don't learn from those mistakes, then that's the problem. If Trump wins this election and we have another pandemic and he puts another Anthony Fauci on center stage, shame on him. Then he turns out to be the worst president of my lifetime. That is Trump. If you're not going to learn from your mistakes, and I think he has, because here's the thing. When his first go round, he lined himself up with idiots. He said he was going to drain the swamp, and yet everybody he hired was a swamp member. Bolton is the prime example. Swamp, 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 and yet everybody he got was a swamp member. Now, the people I see him circling himself with, these aren't swamp members, you know? So, but has Trump gone the distance? He hasn't. I'm just watching the TV right now. He's somewhere in Michigan, and he's got Marco Rubio on stage. Marco Rubio is an amnesty touting bullshit senator. So it says to me that Trump still hasn't completely learned his lesson. You know, hopefully he gets in and somebody freaking grabs him by the necktie and says, you're not going to put Marco Rubio anywhere in your administration. My bet is, though, he makes him Secretary of State, which would be so stupid.
Corey from Vermont. What can Trump do about the fake news media if he's elected? What would you do about the fake news if you were president?
I think Trump, if Trump becomes the president of the United States, which I pray he does, I don't think he does anything about the media other than continue to call them out. Okay, fantastic. Problem still exists. What I'd like to see, and I don't know how I'd get it done, but I'd try, like the Dickens, because I think the media is the number one problem in this country. And I've said this before, and this is an idea of mine. If you want to be a lawyer or you want to be a doctor in the United States of America, you have to sign an oath, and then you have to get malpractice insurance. The media is that important, just as much as our health and legal system, that we should make it the same way. If you are going to be a member of the media, you're going to have a card carrying, and you've got to sign an oath that you are going to, keep opinion out of it, and that you are going to give all sides of the story, and that you're going to carry malpractice insurance. You can't operate without malpractice insurance. And if you are the New York Times and you put out stories that are one-sided against Trump and say that he was involved in Russia collusion and win a Pulitzer Prize for it, only to turn out to see that you were part of a lie and pushing lies, or if you are Twitter and you hold back the Hunter Biden story, you lose your insurance. And you can't operate without insurance. They'd all be out of business. If you are an individual who is malpracticed, you put out lies, you put out phony, you do all the other different stuff, you are out of the industry. You can't operate. And so that's how I'd like to do it, because unless you hold these people accountable, and right now the only thing they're held accountable to, Dennis, are their advertisers. That's why Pfizer advertises like they do on television. So this way they don't get bad press. Because you give us bad press, we're going to pull our ads off your network.
Susan J. My question is, what do you say to the liberals that you encounter or engage with in conversation if Kamala wins without sounding like a poor loser?
If Kamala wins, there will not be a single Democrat in my life. I will not operate or deal with any Democrat, because that person has actually caused the demise of my country. And far as I'm concerned, they screwed my kids, they screwed my country, they screwed my family, they screwed my business. I have nothing to say to you. I don't care about being a sore loser. Goodbye. Cut out. That's like saying if the doctor told you that you were dying from cigarette smoke, how many cigarettes would you go to smoking a day? None. I cut it out. Cut out the cancer. It's that easy.
Lori Johnson. Is this a real email from DML below? I got it on Facebook today. Seems fishy to me. I think it's fake. And the message reads, hello, I'm Melissa Morris. I am reaching out on behalf of Dennis Michael Lynch.
Stop. Just stop it right there. We do not reach out to people on Facebook. We do not reach out to people on X. We do not reach out to people on Rumble. We do not reach out to anybody via platforms. The only time you'll ever get an email or message from us is on TeamDML, in the live chat, or via our newsletter. Via our newsletter. Those are the only two ways. If anybody tells you that they're a PR rep or that or it's me or anything else reaching out, they want to be friends with you, it's not me. It's not us. We don't reach out to try to make friends on Facebook. We post on Facebook to try to get people to download our app, become a TeamDML member, buy the CBD, or follow us on X. And on X, I'm not going to reach out to anybody when that starts happening at X, because undoubtedly it will. We don't reach out to you and try to be friends or try to sell you anything or nothing else like that. We may post something with a link to our website. Our websites are very simple. TeamDML.com, DMLCBD.com, True.News, and the DML News app. Other than that, we ain't soliciting anybody. We don't do that.
All right.
Oh, DennisMichaelLynch.com.
Yes. The last two questions come from me and Ryan. I'll go first. If you had 3 minutes to convince an on-the-fence independent or traditional Democrat to vote for Trump, considering it's the 11th hour, what would you tell them?
If it's a woman, I'm going to start off, and it's a woman of the age of childbearing. I would tell a woman not to believe the Democrats that there's going to be a national ban on abortion. I would give that person all the different avenues that they can take other than getting an abortion. But if at the end of the day they are dead set on getting one, I'd tell them, here's the list of states you can go to. But overall, I would tell everybody that if you want the majority of your savings, the majority of your paycheck, and the majority of everything you own to go to the government, so this way it could be transferred over to somebody else overseas or who's in your country illegally, then vote for Kamala Harris. If you want a life of poverty, if you want a life of strife, if you want a life of struggle, vote for Kamala Harris. But if you want freedom, freedom to own a gun, freedom to speak your mind, freedom to move across states, if you want to have the freedom of moving around and not feeling as if somebody can blow you up to smithereens with a missile from overseas, if you want to really have the best experience ever as an American citizen, to have a family, and then one day to have grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and to be able to look back on your life and say, man, this was the best thing that ever happened. The United States of America gave me the kind of life that is just simply amazing, then vote for Donald J. Trump. As imperfect as he is, he's 1,000 times better than Kamala Harris. And if that doesn't convince them, nothing will.
So my question is, so when Trump got elected in 2016, we saw how hard it was for him to even build the wall.
To build the wall.
Yeah, how hard do you think it's going to be for him to carry out mass deportations? Or is it even doable?
Mass deportations is going to be very, very difficult. It sounds sexy when you're saying it from the stump. The real way that this gets carried out, and believe it or not, this came from Mitt Romney, and I've agreed with it ever since I heard him say it. We have to entice people to self-deport. The way you entice people to self-deport, and I've talked about what my plan would be 1,000,000 times. Here's 1,000,001. Very simply put, if I'm president on January 1, on January 2, I make an announcement, and it is widespread. And that announcement is, if you are in this country illegally, you have 3 months to pack your bags and go home to your home country. You can keep the money that you have made, earned, and saved. You can sign the book on the way out. If you sign the book on the way out, we will not hold it against you. We will actually encourage you to reapply for citizenship, and we will look at you as being somebody who was honest. You may have come here dishonestly. You may have fallen in love with this country. If you have, then you respect our rule of law. Sign the book on the way out, take your money, go home, and reapply, and we will put you on the list. and we will say, this is somebody who at least was honest on their way out. We are going to vet you inside and out. We're going to vet your family. And if you're a right fit for America, we will allow you back in. But you will have to go through the legal process. If you don't do that, after 3 months, we are coming. And not only are we coming for you, and you're going to be put in jail, and we are going to confiscate your money because you made it illegally, but we're also coming for your employer. If you are somebody who hires an illegal alien, you got 3 months to rid of them. If you are somebody who gives a place to live to an illegal alien, you are harboring them. And based on U.S. law, you are breaking those laws. We are going to confiscate your business. We are going to confiscate your building. We are going to confiscate your money. And that's how it's going to work. You are breaking the law in ways that are detrimental to American citizens. You are harboring people who are stealing jobs from Americans, and in some cases who are hurting Americans, and in other cases killing Americans. And I am not going to allow it anymore. The self-deportation at that level is going to be huge. Huge. Then I got a much smaller crowd to deal with. And then I am going to round those people up. And if they're criminals, I'm deporting them immediately. If the courts want to fight me on it, while you're fighting me, I'm deporting them. And then the other ones, we will get rid of them through the regular process. As painful as it sounds, we will get rid of them. And I'm telling you, I think a lot of these people will start self-deporting. There's no doubt in my mind.
That's it.
That's it. All right, that's it for us. Listen, go out and vote. We're going to be with you 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on election night. And we are going to be with you until 11:30 p.m., if not midnight, if it looks like it's close enough to where we'll have a winner. Otherwise, we'll be with you for a few hours. We are going to have people calling into the show. Some of these people will be folks that we've had on the program before. Other will be team members. We'll try to keep it as interesting as possible. And we'll be feeding from you each time a state is announced. And we'll try to have the best show we possibly can. And hopefully we'll have a victory dance at the end of it. Either way, that's what we're doing. TeamDML.com is our main place. That's where it is that we will be taking people's questions and inviting people to call in. But you can also watch us live on the DML News app under the podcast tab. You can watch us live on x.com/trustdml. And you can watch us live on rumble.com/DML. Those are the places. We hope that you will become a member of TeamDML.com. You could go there for $30. Today's the last day. $30 buys you an annual membership that usually costs $200. Take advantage of it. Become a member. Help us help you. And that's it for us. Thank you for submitting the questions. Until the next time, which will be Tuesday night, stay well. May God bless you, your family, Donald J. Trump, J.D. Vance, and all people who vote red.
And the Team DML blessing goes out to Beatrice Shento.
Aren't you special, Beatrice? We'll talk to you soon.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.